Hi everyone, it's Karen Hooley. I hope you guys are doing great. It's Wednesday, October 21st, and we are starting to feel like fall around here. It's getting cold, and this weekend we're going over to the west side of the state to do some wedding stuff with my daughter, and they're already saying snow in the mountains. So next week is going to be interesting around here because we're seeing temperatures in the 20s as a low. So yes, next week's going to be pretty darn cold around here. I hope you guys are having a great week. If you're here watching, make sure you pop into the chat over here and make sure to post and say hello. I'd like to know who's here and I'm chatting with. I'm going to wait a couple minutes before I start showing you some of the stuff I've got to show you today, just to see who's popping in and going from there. I'm just thinking about what to talk about. It's been kind of a slow week for me. I've been doing a project, working on a project that I can't show you. I had to swatch it all out, and it took a little bit of time. But the other swatch that I was telling you about last week, I can show you. But this was a project that I had been putting off because the one that I can't show you is the one I have been having trouble. There's a particular theme, and I wanted to make sure that what my project was going to be had the vibe of that theme. And so I think I finally figured it out. And I'm really excited about it. I just can't wait to show it to you, but I can't show it to you till sometime next year. So we'll show that later. But one of the things, while we're waiting for everybody to get here, is maybe we'll chat a little bit about. Excuse me, guys. The coffee is not sitting well with me today for some reason. So one of the things I wanted to just kind of bring up with you guys is, what do you do with your leftover skeins of yarn? Like, I had this from a project. This is actually what I used to swatch the new swatch with, even though this isn't the yarn I'm going to be using. But what do you do with your skeins of yarn like this that you don't have enough to make a full project, but it's enough yardage that you don't want to waste it? What do you guys do with them? Do you do scrap afghans, or this is fingering weight with a little bit of bling in it? I don't know if you can see the bling. It's got a gold stellina in there. Trying to see if it can't see it. Even if you get close, you can't see it. But there's gold stellina in it, and but I want to mix it with something else. So I'm thinking what I might do with a lot of my fingering weight, because I tend to have a lot of fingering weight. You guys all know that I'm the fingering weight queen when it comes to projects. I'm thinking about I have a huge bin over there in my my stash area that is full of just partial skeins like this. Maybe 50 yards or less for most of them. This one's probably closer to, well, this is probably close to 50 yards. But I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to make little, like, not really afghans or blankets, like little mats for my cats, because they're starting to take over our couch, and our couch is microfiber and it's getting full, especially our calico cat. Her white fur is just all over this gray couch. So I'm thinking that maybe I can convince them to sit somewhere else if I make them something, which probably is wishful thinking, because since they were kittens, they never touched my yarn. I mean, never played with them, never swiped at it, never got into my bags, nothing. So I'm thinking it might be wishful thinking, but I'm going to try. I'm going to thinking about making something with all of those little tiny samples, or leftovers, I should say, not samples, leftovers from samples that I've made over the years. So what do you guys do with your small leftovers? Do you guys do, sample projects? Do you give them away? I know a lot of people give their leftovers to like the women's shelters or the senior centers and stuff like that, where they do crafts and make their own things and sell the projects. I have done that in the past as well. When I have huge amounts of yarn, usually every 6 months or so, after I've done, many projects, that's usually when I send my yarn over to usually a senior center. Now that we've moved here, moved across the state, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with them. So I'm looking for ideas, guys. Hello, how are you? Popple Backyard Farm. Are you new? You're new to my lives. Welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Anybody else pop in and say hello? I know Linda is with her cat at the vet. Awesome. I'm glad you're doing great. Me too. It's been a kind of a crazy week. That's what I was starting with. It's been kind of a lot of behind the scenes work that I really can't show you, but I do have a few things I can show you this week. I'm going to go ahead and get started with that as people pop in. If you haven't already heard me say this, I'm going to just say it one more time. I want to get some ideas what you guys do with leftovers from projects. This is about 50 yards. I have a whole bin over there. I've been thinking about making, because I have a lot of fingering weight, making a little lap pad or a pad for my cats in all these different colors to lay on so that they're not on my couch, or even if they are on my couch, they may get less hair on the couch. So that's my thoughts, but I'm curious as what you guys do with your leftovers. I might be doing a blog post too about what to do with your leftovers. So any ideas you guys want to throw my way, that would be awesome. But let's go ahead and get started with some of the things I wanted to show you. I cannot remember. I know I mentioned this in my class over the weekend, but I can't remember if I talked about it last week, and I didn't have time to go back to the video I did last week. But one of the things I like are reversible fabrics. And this weekend, I taught my reversible shell class online, and it went really well. And I know I mentioned this to them, but I wanted to show you another reversible fabric that I'm thinking about doing a little mini class on. It might be a free class, it might be just a YouTube video, or it might be a paid class. If I get enough people needing help, I may do a little either like a drop-in kind of class or something like that on Zoom. But it's this called the potholder stitch, and it's reversible. Here's the solid color. And then here is the variegated that I'm working at the same time. I'm working 2 colors at the same time. Actually, you do 2 rows of one and then 2 rows of the other, and that's how you get this cool look. And they call it the potholder stitch because originally, I mean, it's so cushy. I wish I could get the cush in here in the pictures here, but you have to feel it. This is done with 100% cotton. I was just playing with the stitch a while ago just to remind myself how to do this. I haven't done it in a while, and I do need some potholders, so I'm going to be making some potholders out of this. But it's so cushy and soft, and it's really thick. And even if you fold it in half, it's thick enough that you can fold it in half and still use the pot holder. If you were going to use this as a pot holder, this is a little small to be a pot holder, but you could fold it so you have double thickness on both sides. It's a simple stitch. So if you're interested in this, let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in learning this. My students in my class were really excited to hear about it. So I wanted to show you what the fabric kind of looks like. And you can do this with 2 solids. You can do it with 2 variegateds. But what'll happen is one skein of color will be on one side and the other skein of color will be on the other side. So however you want to do it, you can mix and match your colors. I just happened to have cotton that was in kind of a monochromatic tone, so I could show a variegated with a solid. But if you're interested in this, let me know, and I'm definitely going to start doing some videos starting next week. This week, I think I mentioned at the beginning, we're going over to the west side of the state, back to where we used to live, because that's where my daughter's getting married, to do a bunch of wedding stuff. So I won't be able to record after today. So next week, I'm going to start finishing up the sock class that I'm going to be releasing in January. And then I want to do some video on other techniques like this one. So if you're interested, let me know. It's a lot of fun to do, and it's really super simple and cushy. And it makes a great Afghan. I don't have the Afghan anymore, but I made one that was in worsted weight acrylic. That one side was royal blue, and the other side was a variegated. It had all the primary colors, the red and the blue and the yellows. And it was the royal blue that kind of matched on both sides. And my son used to call it the It's a Small World Afghan, because if you kind of look at these, I'm going to put it up a little closer here. In that particular colorway, you could see it a lot, but the stitches look like they're holding hands. So he called it It's a Small World Afghan because of the way the variegated looked, and it looked like kids just holding hands. Hi, Deborah, you're interested. Cool. This is called the potholder stitch. It's double-sided. It's using 2 colors, and I'm going to do either do a video on YouTube, or I'm going to do a live or something on this stitch. So I was just wanting to see how many people would be interested. Okay, cool. 2 people. Okay. So this is something you'll be seeing in the future very soon, probably, because I have a whole, I have a couple colors over there that I've been wanting to do this with anyway. So we'll definitely do something on that line. So there you go. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you, is this swatch, because I've been talking about it the last couple weeks. And so I finally was able to grab the swatch and remember to grab the swatch before I went live. So this is, okay, perfect. I'm glad that you guys like that. Okay, so then last week I was telling you that I was knitting myself a sweater, and I think I showed you part of it. Well, I actually have been able to divide for the sleeves, and I'm working at the bottom now. And so you're going to see a lot of tails that haven't been woven in yet, because I never weave my ends in on a sweater until I know I like the way it's going to be. This is knitted. It's called the Falling Stars sweater. So here's where my sleeves end, and I'm working on the bottom of the sweater. So it's actually this is the first time I've done a top-down circular top yoke sweater in Fair Isle in knitting. And I've never done one in crochet, but now that I've done it in knitting, I'm really thinking about designing a Fair Isle sweater like this in crochet. But the bottom part takes forever because there's no color changes, so you don't get to be excited. You know, one more row, I want to see how the pattern's turning out. So it's going to take a little longer. If I was crocheting with this, I would have already been on the sleeves. That's how much slower knitting is. But I'm really excited about how it's turning out. I'm using Barocco Vintage, the worsted weight yarn. And my gauge was interesting with this. And this is true with crochet too. If you're finding you can't get gauge, no matter whether you go up a needle or down a needle, or, you know, up 2 needles, you're still having trouble getting gauge. What I ended up doing is my knitting gauge is so tight that I increased the size of my sweater, because I'd be within less than an inch of the size I need. I increased the size using the gauge I actually got. So that's a little trick if you're working on a garment in crochet that you can do, is if you can't get gauge, you just can't. And if your stitches are too tight, go up one size and figure out what the gauge would give you as far as measurements concerned. And so I was within, I think it was like a ½ inch off if I went up to the larger size from the size that I needed. and it's just a little bit bigger. And actually for me, that I like to have a little bit more room, especially in the bust line of my sweaters. So it was perfect because I could use, I actually had to go up a hook size, a needle size, sorry. And I went up a whole size in the pattern. And it seems to be working out just fine. So far, I've tried it on and it fits the way I want it to so far. So I'm really excited about that. And if you're a crocheter, you can do if you only crochet, you can do the exact same thing in crochet as if you are you're not getting the gauge that you want it to be, or the pattern's calling for. You have to do a little bit of math, and maybe at some point I will give you a little cheat sheet on my website on how to do that. But you do a little bit of math with the gauge to figure out which size would be the closest if you use the gauge that you actually got. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Let me pop in here. So Deborah, you'd like to make those pot holders for Christmas gifts. Okay. I will definitely, because this week, I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it earlier. I'm leaving tomorrow for a few days to go over to the west side of Washington to do some wedding planning with my daughter and my husband and her fiance. We've got to do some food tastings and stuff like that. So I'm going to be gone, but I'll be back in the office on Monday. And Monday is the day that I'm going to start working on video. So there you go. Cool. Okay, so there's 3 of you now that want to learn the butthole stitch. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna figure out how I want to do that, and I might do a little mini lesson maybe here on a live in the next week or so, and then we can do a static video that you guys can go back to as well. So we'll figure out how to do it. We'll figure out how to get this before you start making, the Christmas rush. Okay, so gauge. I was talking about gauge, and okay, so if you're crocheting something and your gauge is too tight, even if you've gone up a couple hook sizes, you might want to do the math and check your gauge for a larger size. And if your gauge is too loose and you've gone down hook sizes, you might want to go to a smaller size. So I'll see what I can do about creating some sort of handout or informational sheet, or even a video maybe of how to do the math on that. It's not super complicated. It's just trying to figure out, if this number of stitches is going to work for a bust line, or if that kind of thing, or if it's your row gauge and the length is going to be different, where you need to cut off so that you can make it the right length for what you need. So there you go with the sweater. So that was the second thing I wanted to show you guys. Linda, if you just got here, this is the swatch for the potholder stitch. I know you were listening. I don't know if you could see it. Hi, Martha. How are you? This is the solid side, and this is the variegated side. I think I have it upside down. This is the right side. There we go. So that's the front, and this is the back, or whichever way you wanted to do it. But this is makes a great play pad too for kids. I should mention that too. I've made Afghans out of it. I've made pot holders, obviously, and I've made play pads. It's a really fun stitch. So, okay, we'll definitely get going on that. And then last week I talked about that I'm working on a swatch using the Reversible Concha yarn. And there goes my hook. I'm working on getting another swatch going on this one. I had to put it aside because as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I had to work on a different swatch that I can't show you, but I got that one done. So today is going to be working on this. But this is the Reversible Concha, and I don't have the tag. Where did the tag go? Oh, here's the tag in my bag. This is the yarn I'm using, Concha, and it's 50 merino, 50 cotton, 50% merino lamb's wool, and 50% cotton. It's really soft, and it's got the lanolin and the lamb's wool still a little bit in it. So you've got that, it softens your hands a little bit as you're working. I love it. I love this color. You know, if you know me, blue is my favorite color. But what I've done is as I mentioned before, it's pretty, you can make some for you. Yes, you can. Yes, Linda, that would be a great stitch. This is the swatch for my, for this yarn. This is, I did, I think it's 60 stitches across, 50 stitches across. I haven't blocked it yet because I need to do that before I really check to see if this is the gauge I want. But I always do a simple stitch, usually double crochet, because that's my go-to stitch for most things. I always do a basic stitch first just to see how the fabric moves and how the holes look. And this is kind of what I wanted. I might actually go down one hook size. I tried it in the smaller hook. And I didn't like the way it moved because the drape on this is so much better. I mean, it moves and sways, but I need to block it to see. And I have a feeling when I block it, it's going to bloom a little bit to fill in these holes. Or it might shrink down a little bit, depending on how hot the water is. But I don't usually do a block with hot water. I usually do like a lukewarm, but sometimes even a lukewarm can kind of move your stitches around and make things tighter. So it'll be interesting to see what this comes out with once I block it. But I love the way the colors shift in this. There's not really any pooling, maybe a little bit down here at the bottom, but it really doesn't pool all that much. It's more of shifting colors. And I think the larger the piece is, I mean, this is almost, this is probably about a third, 2/3 of a front maybe. And so you know that the color is going to be pretty much the same as you get larger. So that I really, really like. I really love the feel of this. It's soft. It's got that lanolin feel. Now I know after I block it, though, some of the lanolin's going to come out, and that's okay. Even when you finish your garment, you don't want that completely oily. I don't know. Oily is not the right word. It's almost like a lotion that comes off the fabric. You don't want that when on the finished piece. But as you're working with it, it's awesome stuff. But now I'm working, that's when I was saying I'm starting another swatch and I just haven't gotten very far on it. This is going to be a cardigan. And I had mentioned before that I want either some lace in it or like a lace panel maybe down the back, or lace panels coming down the sides of the sleeves, or maybe even lace coming up the front, or maybe just around the base, or maybe just around the neckline. You know, that's kind of cute too. I was fighting with this swatch because I really wanted cables. And the cables and I think it's the cotton. I think I mentioned this last week. The cotton in it doesn't give it enough, or takes away some of the memory, I should say. Because wool tends to, if you stretch it, it springs back right away. And this one does spring back pretty well. But when you're doing the cable and the taller stitches, I wasn't getting the spring back that I wanted to make the cables look nice and pretty and smooth. And even though I could probably block them and they'd be fine, I think with wear, they would still pull and then they look kind of funny afterwards. So I'll probably find a wool yarn that I like for a cardigan with the cables that I have in my head. I mean, the cable, I really, really want a sweater with this particular cable in my head. So I'm going to be working on that. But in the meantime, I really want to get this one done. And I'm thinking lace. But if you guys were going to do a sweater, like a cardigan, and you wanted, and I was going to put lace in it, would you like lace coming down your sleeves? Does that do you like, you know, like from the top shoulder down this way? Do you like all the way to the cuff, just like a stripe of lace? Does that interest you guys? Or like a panel maybe this wide going up the back, just to maybe the front be plain, and then when you turn around, you've got your pop of interest. Would you want something that maybe even just maybe up the front or around the yoke or around the bottom? So I'm looking for ideas, guys. So I kind of have an idea what the lace will be. I just have to do it. But I'm curious what you guys think. So shoot me a little note here and tell me what you guys think. I'm going to take some coffee here because I'm losing my voice again. I've discovered one of the things of living in this area of Washington is that there's a lot of dust. We had a big windstorm Saturday or Sunday, I guess was, and it stirred up so much dust. I mean, so much dust, and that's when my voice started to go again. So hopefully in the next couple of days, my voice will come back. But what do you guys think? Are any of you guys interested in cardigans? I haven't designed a cardigan in a while. I designed one for Modern Italian Lace Crochet right there. That it's inside the book. But that was the last one I did, and that was more than a year ago. So I'm curious what kind of sweaters you guys are interested in. The other thing too is this one is going to be worked from the top down using a raglan style sleeves. So there's going to be no seams. There's going to be no seam up the side. Or when you attach the sleeves. So there you go. So Linda says, I love cardigans. Pullovers are too warm. Yeah, I know. Hot flashes. Oh yeah, I know that. And yes, cardigan for Martha too. Cool. Okay. So because a lot of people have asked me for cardigans and more garments, I've been doing a lot of shawls, and there's still more shawls coming. I mean, I know I'm known for my shawls. My best-selling book is A Garden of Shawls. It's still selling on Amazon like crazy. People have been asking for more lightweight garments and lighter yarns. So, and I've been following some new people on Instagram that are a little younger generation, probably 20s and 30s, that are designing garments now. And I'm noticing, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I'm noticing they're using the heavier weights for the most part. Nadine would like some lightweight cowls too. I can do that. In fact, I have a couple skeins of yarn right now that are on the shelf for cowls. So those will be coming too. I pretty much designed everything through the end of the year that's going to be released, including my new free pattern that's coming January 1st for my newsletter subscribers. So if you, and I'll talk about that in a second, but anything I'm designing from this point forward is going to be for 2021 and maybe even as late as 2022, depending on when I get the yarn, how fast things go and stuff like that. I also am planning a wedding. I mentioned that my daughter's getting married next September. So it's not like I'm doing wedding stuff constantly, but it will slow me down a little bit next year. So there'll be parties and showers and, you know, going to the West Side to finalize things and stuff like that. So my time is going to be a little more shared with stuff like that. So I may not release as many patterns as I did this year and previous years. In fact, my next big book, like those up there, won't be released until 2022 because of that time frame crunch, because I've got so much going on and I have to divide my time up, and throwing a wedding into that and move into a new house in January or early February at the latest. That's all throwing my schedule off a little bit. But I promise that everything you're going to see me now talking about now is either 2021 or 2022, early 2022. So there you go. So this cardigan, I'm kind of hoping to be able to release it by spring because it's going to be a lighter weight. It's going to be a cotton blend. So I'm kind of hoping maybe April, May, June timeframe for this cardigan. Cardigans, garments do take longer to release because there's so much testing involved for all the sizing, And then there's just they're more time consuming to design. So I'll probably be designing this or working on this cardigan at the same time as other smaller projects. And I tend to do that when I'm working on a big project like this, like a sweater. Even for my books, usually I try to zoom through all of my book projects, you know, within a 6-month period of time. But when I do my sweaters, any of my sweaters, garments, I've always got at least one other project alongside of it, because a lot of times it's just repeating the same thing until I get to the armholes or the neckline or whatever it is. And so sometimes my brain says I need to do something else. So you'll see other projects coming through too. So let me see here. You asked earlier about what to do with leftover yarn. If I have larger amounts, I make pet blankies for the shelter. Oh, that's a good idea too. I forgot about that. Or scarves for kids. I've done the scarves for kids. I have done that. Yes, I forgot about that. I should look into that, because my daughter works for a shelter right now, for a teenage shelter. So, and they probably could use some scarves. I didn't even think about that. You like use for practicing new stitches. Yes. And that's what I save a lot of different yarns like this one that I saved, because I love the feel of this yarn. It's really soft and squishy. I should mention this is Smozzarella yarn Spectacular. It's her fingering weight, and it's let me pull the label out. It's Spectacular. It's fingering. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and then 5% stellina. And like I mentioned before, this one has gold in it. And she loves to name her yarns after her favorite movies or culture icons and things like that. Songs. I mean, she does a lot of 90s songs. I have three one-of-a-kind skeins that she dyed at the same time, but she did them differently, but so they blend like for a fade. And those she does, she usually does sets of 3. And she names them as lyrics from songs from the 90s, which is really kind of fun too. This one is called Troll Boogers. That's the color, called Troll Boogers. So, but that's why I saved this one, because I knew this one would make a great swatching yarn, because it's a tonal gray with a little bit of stellina in it. And my final project won't have the stellina in it, but at least I can get a fingering weight yarn that I can work with and swatch with. That gives me an idea of what the stitches are going to look like, even if it's a different yarn. So yeah, that's definitely practicing new stitches is a good thing too. Okay, so that is all I brought today, because like I said before, I've been working a lot behind the scenes this last week, doing different things. Another thing that happened to me this week is my QuickBooks decided to crash the software. It wouldn't let me log in, and it took me like 4 hours on Monday to finally get my QuickBooks back up and running. And that's a problem, because tax season is not that far away, and the year's not over yet. So, hi Juanita, are you talking about this yarn, the Spectacular? It is a beautiful yarn. If you've never tried Smozzarella yarns, right now her shop is on hiatus due to the pandemic, but she's planning to come back. She's can't get some of her yarns, so she can't dye, but she is planning to open up as soon as she can. So Smozzarella is one of my favorite dyers out there, so I highly, highly, highly recommend that you check her out. And I'll put it in the chat what her website is. There we go. So she's got some great yarns. In fact, my Queen of Hearts is done in her minis, 2 sets of her minis, and then a single skein, a full hank of the colors that kind of flow together. So I did 2 sets of minis, which are 6 skeins, and then there was a skein in between them that bridged the two mini sets. And when I finished the second minis, I went to a solid or a full-size skein that bridged the colors at the end. So it's really cool. Let's see, Brat's mom. If you make a scarf with plainer stitch, you can use leftover yarn to do surface slip stitch. Yes, yes, I've seen those too. Those are kind of fun. I haven't done the flowers and stuff, but I love doing, actually one of the things I really love to do, and I used to do this a lot with Afghans to make them kind of look plaid, is you would take a base yarn and just crochet like a filet crochet mesh with some stripes of solid double crochet going through them. And then you take different colors, and where the mesh parts are, you make crochet slip stitches all the way up to make stripes of color. So you can do all sorts of stripes, and you can even do them. You can even do the base mesh. You know, you can stripe that too if you wanted to do this the surface crochet afterwards. I like working in a mesh to do that because I have an easier time keeping my lines nice and straight when I do stuff like that. But you could be embroidered yarn. Yeah, you could do that too. I've seen that done as well. You could do with Tunisian background, you know, do like a cream simple stitch Tunisian scarf, and then embroider cross stitch on any sort of picture, kind of like they used to do with the Afghans back in the 70s and early 80s. Oh, Juanita, you're spinning again. Oh my gosh. I don't know if any of you guys follow Juanita on Instagram, but she's I probably am going to totally trash this, but it's Boricua crochet. Is that how you say it? I don't know if that's right. Boricua. My Italian's coming out and I want to pronounce it. My phonetics are different when it's the Italian way. But she's a hand spinner, and she is got some of the most gorgeous yarns. Thank you, Juanita. I know, you know, it's the Italian in me that I want to pronounce it the way the Italians do. So, but if you don't follow her on Instagram and you're interested in seeing some really cool hand spun yarns, follow her. I mean, she inspires me to get back my wheel out and start spinning again. And I am thinking in November, I'm pulling my wheel out anyway, because I do need to, when I first started spinning, my son had, well, we still have one Jersey woolly rabbit. They're Angora rabbits. They're a blend of, I want to say French Angora and Netherland dwarf bunnies. So they're these little bunnies that are about this big, and they weigh about 2 pounds, and they're all fur. I mean, she looks like a 10-pound rabbit. The one we still have, Simone is her name. She looks like a 10-pound rabbit, but she weighs less than 2 pounds. It's all fur. So my son, one of his very first rabbits, we saved her fur, and when she passed away, he asked me to make him fingerless mitts. And so I'm going to mix it with alpaca yarn, and I'm going to blend it, and I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to either knit or crochet him some fingerless mitts. It depends on the yardage. The less yardage I have, the more likely I'm going to knit these. So I started spinning because of that. But now that I'm watching Juanita's spinning, I'm just like, oh, I need to try some of these other techniques people are doing. The barber poles and the fractal spinning and stuff like that. These are probably terms you guys are going, what? Because that's exactly how I felt. But when I see all these different things now, just the way to work with spinning yarns. And I've been dying to design a pattern from yarn that I have spun myself. And I do have some hand spun over here that are just solid colors. I should probably pull those and show them to you because they're right here. I can see them. Hang on, guys. Okay. These are literally worsted weight yarns and bulkier. This is a wool silk blend that I did. This was one of the first more even spins I've ever done. It's really soft. I've got actually two hanks of this. I can't remember the yardage. I have a spreadsheet on my computer that I do, that once I spin and I figure out the yardage and what the wraps per inch and stuff, I keep it on. So I don't have that in front of me, but this is about, I would say this is a worsted to light bulky. Let me open it up. It's pretty heavy yarn, but it's really, really soft. So that's one. And then the next two are 100% wool. They're Falkland sheep. And again, this one's more of a thick and thin, but fun. And this is more consistent, but yeah, it's soft too. So I think I have like 500 yards on this one, if I'm not mistaken, because I have another hank of this as well. And so this one might be something bigger. This one is the only hank I got. I think it's the only one. Yeah, it's the only one. This is about 250, 300 yards, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet, but I like to spin too. It's kind of my side thing, and I find spinning relaxing. So, but I haven't done it in months. So I'm going to have to pull out some of my practice fiber first before I start doing that. So that's another thing I kind of do in the background as well. But again, I haven't done it in months. So, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Wani. So anyway, that's pretty much what I was going to show you guys today. I didn't know if you guys had any questions for me or want to talk about something. For future podcasts, what I'm thinking about doing is, or vlogs, I guess, or video logs, or I don't know what they call these other than lives. But I've been thinking about going through some of my surveys and taking subjects from those, and we can discuss them. You guys can ask me questions. I'm also, I don't know how many of you are on my newsletter, but not right now, but in the future, probably late November, early December, I'm thinking I'm going to do another survey. And it's not really a survey. I'm going to be asking for input on topics for the podcast. So if you have ideas now before then, send them to me at Karen. I'm at Karen at KarenHooley.com. You can just, I'm going to put that on here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I guess because my name is the same as my URL. It's highlighted there. I don't know if you guys can see the highlight in the chat. But you can send me, topic ideas, something that I can talk about. I don't necessarily want to do like, how do you crochet a hat kind of thing, but more about something that, I can explain the theory behind it, I guess is really the word. I don't mind crocheting on camera and showing you some stuff, but I'd really like to do more in-depth kind of things like talking about gauge more in depth, or, maybe what to do when you run into a problem on a pattern, or I'm just trying to think of what questions I've had in the past. Someone asked me once how to keep the sides straight on when you're crocheting. Beginners have trouble sometimes seeing where the rows are actually ending, and sometimes they miss the last stitch, that kind of thing, because of the turning chains. Those kind of questions that I can show you quick on the screen. I mean, showing you on this type of format where I'm live only for an hour, I don't want to do a full lesson on, how to crochet a hat or something like that. But any sort of theory type of thing, I can show you again how I weave in ends, that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions or things you'd like me to talk about, you can even ask me questions about being a designer or a teacher, how to get involved in that, what steps are to take, that kind of thing. Okay, Martha, I can definitely do gauge. I know gauge is, even I still struggle with gauge. That's especially when I'm doing someone else's pattern like that sweater. I had to do some math to get the sweater to fit me properly. So gauge is huge, is a huge issue, and it's a very large issue, even though a lot of people think, oh, I just need to make a swatch and measure it and make sure it's right. But there's more to it than that. Seaming. Seaming is another one I can do. That would be easy. I can show you different seams and show you how to do some of them. That would be a good one to do, actually. I've been thinking about doing some just static videos too for YouTube on seaming. So we can talk about the seaming on the live, and then maybe I can come up with some videos that you guys can have to refer to at that point too. So that's something to think about as well. So anything you guys want to talk about, I'd like to make these a little more topical going forward. Like I did with the Mystery Crochet Along, every week I talked about, that particular step of the crochet along. I can do that. I mean, I'm glad to do, show and tell every once in a while, and even, show you at the beginning, maybe the projects I've been working on that week that I can share with you. But once I get through that, there's not a whole lot to talk about. So I'd love to do topical things. So joining as you go techniques, we can do that. I don't do a lot of those, Juanita. I'm more of a full project person, but I can do that because I have done those a lot in the past. So especially with all of the lace work that I've done with my grandmother, knowing how to put squares together and pieces and motifs, definitely things like tips and tricks I've learned. So we can do that. Cool. Okay, you guys have already, in fact, I'm going to write these down. Where's my pad of paper? I just had it. Oh, there it is. My sweater was covering it. So I'm going to put down here, so gauge, obviously. Gauge is a big one, and that might end up being multiple different weeks. I might mix it up with something else, but gauge for sure. Seaming. And join as you go. One of the topics that it's kind of a hot topic because there's no real easy way for me to do this, and I'm not sure how to even broach the subject. But I've gotten in my surveys several people asking how to find patterns that are free or inexpensive that are written properly. And it's a topic that has been bugging me for a lot of years. There's a lot of people out there who make their money by producing free patterns, and they get the income from the ads on their website. And I know that there's pros and cons to ads. I choose not to do ads on my website because why would I promote something that belongs to someone else when I work so hard to do my own patterns? And I'm a firm believer that a pattern that I produce should be the best work I can possibly do, which means I have things tech edited, and I have things tested, and I have things charted, and we go through them. And I'm not saying my patterns are perfect because they are far from that. I've had errors in the past, but most of my patterns are pretty good. And I believe in the fact that if you don't pay for the patterns, you're not going to get the quality that I give. And so that's one. And then there's a lot that's involved. So that's why I do very few free patterns out there. I don't know if that's a subject you guys want to talk about. And how to deal with that. It's a touchy subject, and it's really hard. I don't want to offend anybody because I have my beliefs on how to run my business, and there's everybody else can run their businesses the way they want to. But it is frustrating for me when one of my customers comes to me and says, I got this pattern free from XYZ site, and I can't read it. Can you rewrite it for me? Or can you help me figure this out? I have had students, I can't tell you how many classes I've taught in here, locally, when I was over on the other side. I haven't taught classes here yet. But how many times people have done that and brought a pattern to class, and after class, the two of us have had to sit there and I've had to try to figure it out so they could successfully complete the pattern. I don't know if that's a topic I should talk about live or should do a blog post about. So if you guys are interested in sending me ideas on how to find well-written patterns or something like that, that are free or inexpensive, let me know. I just don't know how to do it without offending anybody. So, and that's the last thing I want to do is offend people. So just that, but I've had so many requests for that. I just don't know where to begin. So, oh, Linda said, what about when the pattern says repeat reverse shaping? Oh, yeah. That's a knitting term. A lot of knitting patterns are written that way. And crocheters are starting to do that. I do that only when I am required to, like with a magazine or if I'm writing a book and I have to conserve space. But most of the time what I'll end up doing is like I did that for, I can't remember which book or which sweater. It was in Modern Italian Lace Crochet, which pattern I did it. But I wrote the pattern for shaping one side. And then I said to my tech editor, can you reverse it for me? Because a lot of times I work with just one set of information and I can automatically reverse it in my head, but having to rewrite it will take a lot more brain power than some days I have. So I'll have my tech editor reverse it for me. And that has worked well in the past too. But I can definitely, we can talk about that, reverse shaping. Repeat reverse shaping. Okay, I might just come up with a little simple pattern that we can do to show you how to reverse it. Maybe it's just like a neckline or something. I would rather pay for a pattern than have to sit through ads. They are so annoying. Well, that's the other reason too. I've been in the industry long enough to remember when people first started putting ads on their websites, way back in the days of the AOL and Yahoo websites. I mean, my first website was on a Yahoo website that was free and you could put ads on them. I never did, but I remember I'm old enough to, and in the industry long enough to remember when the FTC cracked down and ads were pulled off websites because they weren't following the law. And a lot of people were being fooled by, you know, what we now call bait clicking and stuff like that. Back then, it wasn't called that back then. I can't even remember what they used to call it back then. But I never put ads on anyway because I was always like, why would I want to put ads on if, you know, it's not something I believe in or if it's not something I've ever used. I don't want to recommend anything to my users and my followers that I've never used myself and that I actually like. You'll notice that I haven't reviewed a product on my website in a very long time because I realized that a lot of times I would get a product and I'd promise a review and I'd have to write a positive review even though I didn't like it. And I had to find ways to let my people know that I really didn't like it, but make it a more of a positive review. And I don't like doing that. I don't like being positive about something I've never tried before because I don't know. You know, I can't give you a positive review and I don't like lying to my people. So a lot of those reviews have been pulled off my website. I mean, every once in a while I'll talk about a product and that's because I've used it and I loved it. I mean, I love this yarn. I love this yarn. I love the yarn I'm doing in my sweater. I don't mind sharing that with you guys. If you guys have questions about, you know, different yarns, if I haven't used them, I can't say anything. But if I've used them and I've tried them, I can give you an honest opinion of whether that yarn would work for whatever it is you're trying to do. So, and that's just how I feel about ads. I don't want to put ads on, first of all, because most of them are annoying anyway. And to me, I mean, all these pop-ups and things flashing on my screen, I want you to have a clean I want you to be able to read what's going on my site. I don't want you, you know, every once in a while I might put on the sidebar that I'm a member of CGOA or something like that, just to remind people about the different organizations and things like that. But they're all things that I have been a part of, I have worked with, I can recommend. So there you go. There's my soapbox. I have a real big soapbox when it comes to ads. Just because I saw so many people get shut down and lose their businesses because of the ads on their website way back when. So I have ads. If I go onto a website and there's ads flashing at me, I immediately get off because I just can't. And ad blockers work, but they also block other things that I don't want them to block, so I don't want to use them. So especially when I'm working and I need to get onto a website, and that website might have ads, but it blocks something else on that website too. So yes. So that's why you don't see ads on my website. That's why I will never have ads on my website. And even my newsletter, you'll notice that every once in a while, like last week, I recommended Timeless Fiber Arts. I can't remember the name of the site right now, but that I'm now on, that they have my patterns linking to my website. And that's because I've talked to the gal, I've seen what she's done, and you know, I can say this is a great site. It's great for the designers, and it's great for you to be able to find patterns. And you know, when I see a free pattern from Willow, I will post it on there. My friend Karen McKenna is a big Willow designer, so I always try to promote her patterns because I love her work, and her patterns are usually free through Willow. So there you go. Expression Fiber Arts is the yarn company. This is Timeless Fiber. Oh, let me find it. Hang on 1 second. I can tell you exactly which site it is. It is, there it is. Timeless Fiber Designs. There it is. Okay, so let me give you the link. Timelessfiberdesigns.com is the timelessfiberdesigns.com. Okay, that's the site. She's just getting started. I should mention that up front. But she's creating a database of all existing patterns out there, sold or free, from different designers who, the way she's making it work is that she takes a picture off my website of the pattern. So like she'll have a picture of Queen of Hearts, and she'll have Queen of Hearts, and I have a page of my own that shows all my patterns, kind of like what Ravelry did with the notebooks, have, you know, or the designer page, where you have all the patterns this person has designed, and you click on it. Well, Ravelry goes to a Ravelry page and shows all the details about the pattern, and you can buy it from Ravelry, and Ravelry takes a percentage of the designer's fee, you know, cost. I used to pay a lot of money to Ravelry when I was still on Ravelry. What this one does is she literally, you click on it and it goes to my website. Sometimes it goes to the blog post, but my blog posts for my patterns always have the link of where to buy it. And but a lot of my patterns don't have blog posts, especially the early ones. So those are going directly to my my shopping cart. So what's really nice is that she's given me a place where I can show my patterns, and I don't have to pay her a fee. And as a designer, I really appreciate that. Now, she will have advertisements on her website at some point, but they're going to be paid advertisements. So like if I have a new book coming out, she'll do a little banner at the top that says, this is my new book, click here to find more. It won't be all the flashing stuff that, at least as of from what she is saying at the beginning, that's not going to be all that kind of stuff. So just so you guys know, she's a new person. She's awesome. And like I said, she's just getting started. So there's not a whole lot of patterns out there, especially in crochet right now. But I mean, if she gets my whole catalog up there. There'll be a lot more crochet patterns than there were when I first started talking to her about it. So there you go. There's another little tip for you. That is it for me today. I guess it's 10 o'clock. Oh my gosh, that hour went really fast today. You guys had me talking a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and go. If you guys have any questions, make sure, to drop me a line. You can go to my website at KarenHooley.com and use the contact form, or you can contact me directly. I put my email in the chat notes, or in the chat. So let me know. I'll see you guys next week. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be yet, but I will figure it out between now and then. And again, if you have any topic ideas that you didn't list here already, I'll put them down as different things to do next time in the future. So have a great week. I will see you next week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See you later. Have a good one.